Hello everyone and welcome to Pearls of Fisdom with Nirmal Bang. I'm Avan Dubash. Well, today we want to put the spotlight on real estate. Are there discounts? Are there lucrative deals? What can we expect when it comes to the festive season? Is demand picking up or not? Sudhir Pai is now joining in. He's the CEO at Magic Bricks. Thank you so much, Sudhir, for taking time out. So, what is it as things stand? Are there any major incentives being offered by developers? Are there discounts? Are we seeing the demand really picking up? More importantly, in the festive season.
First of all, thanks, Aman, for having me on your show. Now, in response to that, of course, yes. I think the last 3 years have been pretty phenomenal for the real estate industry. Coming off the flattish period between 2014 and 2020. The last 12 months have been great as well. And I think the next 4 to 6 weeks, 4 weeks really, just before Diwali, are expected to be quite a bonanza. So I think there are a fair number of schemes, a fair amount of new launches, a lot of goodies to lure buyers. We should see a cracker of a festive season.
Sure, but what about those lucrative deals, gold coins, modular kitchens, pricing offers? Is that being doled out by real estate players or not?
I don't think it will be as much of a discount game, because if you just step back for a minute on how the market sort of has done this year, we've had great performance in terms of prices. Compared to a year ago, prices on an average are up about 20%. And the price hikes continue on a quarter-to-quarter basis. So our most recent report seems to suggest that quarter 3, which is the quarter which just ended, calendar year, over quarter 2, prices have gone up by a further 8%. So I think prices continue to go up. Demand continues to be strong. Supply is still playing a catch-up game. And transaction velocity is quite strong. So I don't think the festive season is going to be more about discounts or in some sense alluding to some kind of distress selling, because that's not the market at all. It's a strong market. There's limited inventory available. But I think, as with any festive season, a small bit of goodies, etc., would be on the table to trigger sales. But in general, what has helped transactions in the last several quarters is, ironically, prices going up. I mean, if you saw the period pre-COVID, prices used to be flattish. They used to barely rise 2-3% in a year. So if you put yourself in the shoes of a buyer, you had ample time to make up your mind, because there was plenty of inventory available and prices were going nowhere. That's completely changed in the last 3 years, right? So you're seeing prices increase consistently quarter on quarter. You're seeing limited inventory on the table. So buyers are also being pushed to decide faster, which in turn is leading to higher transaction velocity. So I think when I said it will be a cracker of a festive market, what I meant is we expect to see transaction velocity go up, not necessarily deep discounting.
So talk to us a little bit about the pricing trends. How do they stack up versus what we saw in the previous festive season? Are there any cities in particular that are seeing a major delta when it comes to pricing?
From our perspective, we track a lot of cities because we get traffic that comes across more than 300 cities of the country. And the reports that we put out typically are a little more broad-based. On the trends, like I mentioned a while back, what we are seeing is a strong 20% growth in prices. This is pretty much broad-based. Based on the city, you will see a price hike of maybe as low as low single digits to some cities like an NCR market, which has had about a 40% kind of appreciation over the last 1 year. But most cities seem to be doing quite well. And it's not just the demand on the buy side of the market. Even the rental market has done well. The commercial market seems to be doing very well. Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities are also doing well. So I think what's turning out to be good about this market is it's quite broad-based. It's not that a particular segment in the market is doing very well. In general, most parts of the market have done well. So in general, I think foundationally the market is on a good wicket.
Right. And I understand that the tier 2 and 3 cities have done quite well around Delhi and MMR. Are you seeing a significant surge over there? How are they catching up in terms of the big metros?
I think we are seeing Tier 2 and 3 cities doing very well. And the reasons for that are hardly surprising. I think One, I think during the COVID period, a lot of people went back home. To some extent, that triggered a fair bit of revival in tier 2 and 3 cities real estate activities. Now, I think thanks to much better connectivity, both rail as well as road connectivity, most of the tier 2 and 3 cities are but a few hours away from most of the metros, right? So, and apart from that, there are some tier 2 and 3 cities which have done well from a significant economic or a infrastructure intervention, right? So we are seeing, for example, a fair bit of real estate activity in cities like Mathura or in Ayodhya, for instance, for reasons that we all know. But other than that, cities which have had good economic progress, whether it's a Lucknow or whether it's a Bhubaneswar or a Dehradun or even Goa to some extent, we are seeing strong activity there as well.
And I believe the luxury segment has been performing quite well. Is that true? Are we seeing that premium pricing really picking up versus the other segments?
You're right. I think in the last couple of years, I think the top end of the market, at least in terms of price increases as well as in terms of strong demand, has actually led the market. I think one thing we saw in the COVID period was when people were operating from home was the desire to sort of have slightly bigger houses, right? So, and also not to just have a house which had four walls and a ceiling, but to actually live in a community. So, what we've been seeing in the last few years, the demand for slightly bigger homes, for example, homes which are greater than 1,250 square feet. If you go back 4 years, the overall demand used to be a little less than 50%. Today, close to 60% of the overall demand is for homes which are bigger, which are greater than 1,250 square feet. Likewise, in terms of supply, the affordable part of the market, which used to have about 25-30% of the overall supply, today there's barely 20% of the supply in homes which are less than 50 lakhs. So, and the greater than 1.5 crore segment has done really well for itself. Well, one will have to be a bit careful and keep an eye out on risk as well, because in certain micro markets we are also seeing a fairly high amount of supply that is being created of homes which are greater than 2,500 square feet. So that could become a bit of a bottleneck as we go ahead. But last 12 months, I think luxury and the super premium segments have done really well.
When we talk about pricing, which are some of the markets, for example, Noida or Mumbai, that we're seeing a strong growth, can you give us an outlook in terms of the pricing momentum that you're seeing here?
You're right. So if you look at the last 4 years, you could divide the top 8 cities into maybe 3 buckets. NCR in particular, which is both Gurgaon and Noida, would be probably bucket 1. Prices in the last 4 years have shot up by 80 to 90%. Right, bucket 2 would be cities where prices have gone up between 30 to 50%, and MMR, Hyderabad, and a Bangalore would belong to that bucket. And then bucket 3 would be cities where prices have grown more modestly, which is between 15 to 30%. Cities like an Ahmedabad, a Chennai, and a Calcutta. Calcutta is a little more than 30%. Would belong to this kind of a bucket. So relatively speaking, you're right. I think NCR has had a phenomenal run. Prices have nearly doubled in the last 4 years. Even in the last 12 months, prices have gone up by about 40%.
So with connectivity with Mumbai and Navi Mumbai improving so much more, what is the potential for some of the smaller areas like Ulve, Vashi, Kharghar and the likes when it comes to demand and pricing?
I think, look, I wouldn't go so far as forecasting because we typically don't give forward estimates, but what we've seen from our data all along is wherever there's a significant infrastructure development, right, or a significant regulatory intervention, we've seen the markets strengthen there. So Navi Mumbai and Pune, the West region today, accounts for nearly 50% of all the new homes sold in the country. And I think the reasons for that are strong infrastructure development, for example, that's happening in Bombay. So whether it's the coastal roads or the new metros that are coming in or the significant amount of connectivity work that's happening right across the city, I think it's provided a significant fillip to the housing market. Likewise, I think the steps taken by the state government in Maharashtra to also reduce registration taxes has gone a long way into driving higher transaction volume. So I think both Bombay and Pune to a lesser extent are on a very strong wicket. There used to be a time in which NCR alone used to account for 45% of the overall sales across the country. I think that crown has now been taken by Bombay and Pune.
And how is the residential demand in Bengaluru faring compared to supply? Is that exceeding supply at the moment?
I think that's a trend one across the country. Like I said a while back, I think supply is still playing a catch-up game, right? So while demand continues to grow, I mean, what we are seeing is demand this year compared to last year is up about, on a quarter-on-quarter basis, demand went up by about 12%. Supply barely went up by 2%, right? Now, a bit of context more. We have three kinds of properties that get listed on the market. We have listings that come from developers, which is new homes. We have listings put up by brokers, resale market, and we also have listings put up by owners. So I'll share an interesting insight. 3 or 4 years back, if you looked at the overall supply that came from the resale market, which is end users or owners selling to other buyers, those properties used to stay in the market for 4 to 6 months, right? Today we find that the rate of deactivation of listings has significantly gone up. So the number of listings that stay in the market, on an average, a listing stays in the market today for just a little over 2 months, right? So I think that shows the strength of the market. Part of the reason why supply has gone up is because houses are selling faster, and part of the reason why supply has gone down is also because I think some of the owners who are keen to sell earlier, looking at the strong price growth, are holding back in anticipation of getting even better yields as they go ahead. And as long as this supply-demand mismatch continues, so unless we see a lot of supply come into the market, if demand continues to be ahead of supply, I think it bodes well for more growth in prices.
And I also believe that the demand for under construction properties is booming. What is it that you're observing?
I think so. So if I look at the previous cycle, I'm talking of pre-2014 compared to the current cycle that's on play. I think it's a vastly different market in the under construction segment, right? So I think all of the ills that plagued the market at that point of time, I mean, what I meant is houses that were not completed, a fair bit of buyer distress because of that, a fair bit of fly-by-night operators who are there in the developer segment, black sheep, if you will. Much of that has gone away. Credit largely to RERA for that. So the market is also consolidated of larger developers. So I think in today's market, what you're seeing is far greater degree of buyer trust. Houses are getting delivered. Buyers' confidence in under construction market has come back, and that is reflected in. So there used to be a premium that ready-to-move-in homes used to command over under construction homes. Today that premium is gone. Under construction homes, including homes that have delivery for 4 years later, are today commanding a slight premium compared to homes which are ready to move in. So I think it's a vastly different market. Buyer confidence in under construction market has come right back. The crop of developers today is much better, more organized, larger developers, more trustworthy developers, if you will, compared to the crop that we had in the previous version. So yes, I think the under market is on a good wicket.
Sudhir, before we let you go, a quick rapid fire round. One word to describe this. Describe the festive season in one word.
Bullish.
Okay, what's the most expensive sale you've heard about per square foot? Which city?
This I'll have to look up at the data, but if I'm not wrong, that would be DLF. But I'm sure there'll be some properties in Sobo which might beat that. But otherwise, in Gurgaon, there are properties which are now retailing for upwards of 75 crores each.
Okay, so shelling out big bucks for sure. What about the top market then, if you could identify in terms of demand?
I think the strongest markets would be Bombay.
What is it that you advise, if you could give us sort of a quick in a nutshell, renting or buying?
If you're a first-time buyer, of course, buy the house because you'll need it for yourself. If you are an investor and you want to put a house out on rent, do not do it for a short-term gain. Do it only if you have a 10-year plus horizon.
Okay, and how much higher will property prices go in Mumbai?
I wouldn't want to speculate. I'm no astrologer. All I can say, if I look at the various inputs, they seem to point towards more headroom for prices to rise.
Oh, well, it's good to get those insights. Thank you so much, Sudhir, for joining in.
Likewise. Thanks, Aban.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from Nirmal Bang.